So you plan out your evening, you write down a to-do list and you get home after your work hours, and all of a sudden it's bedtime and you haven't gotten anything done. I used to do this all the time. I would tell myself I would write for an hour after work, or read a book that I'm putting off, or even shoot YouTube videos because I have been pushing the deadline over and over again. But I would get home, eat dinner, sit on the couch, scroll on my phone, watch a YouTube video after another, and tell myself in 5 minutes I will get things done. If it is 6:15, I will tell myself at 6:20 I will start working. And the time will pass by and all of a sudden it's bedtime and I haven't touched anything on my to-do list. And it wasn't about procrastination, it was more about finding energy to then, after a long day of work, doing more things. And some nights I will find myself productive, but productive on the wrong things. I will find myself cleaning my office or doing dishes or doing things that are like home related that I can push toward the end of the night, but then they would just satisfy me for the time being. That's when I realized I had to do something different to make better use of my evening time. And now I get to work on my YouTube channel in the evening, read books that I have been putting off for a very long time, and journal. And the best thing that I've seen how I spend my evening time is how I spend quality time with my daughter. And especially now we have a routine where we brush our teeth together, we go to bed, I read her a book before she falls asleep, and then after that I have a little bit of time to get my work done. Hi friends, my name is Mohammed, and in this channel we talk about reading and writing habits that will help us use our time more effectively and make sense of the world that we live in, especially for busy people. And in this video I want to talk about why do we waste our evening time, and 5 strategies that we can use, that we can apply so that we can better use the evening time for things that are more productive so that we can see ourselves grow. So first, why do we always fall into the trap of wasting our evening time after our 9 to 5 or after our work hours? And one of the primary reasons is that we lack energy. I mean, you can't expect yourself to function in the morning the same way that you function in the evening after 6-7 o'clock. After a full day of attending meetings, answering emails, or if you are a teacher standing in front of students, then it is very draining for you to then expect yourself to function the same way in the evening. The other reason is that there are distractions everywhere. I mean, it is way more fun to just scroll on your phone, to doom scroll or scroll until your brain basically fries, than it is to get home and read a book, or get home and write, or get home and shoot a YouTube video, or do something else as a side hustle. And all of these social media companies spend millions and millions of dollars so that they can figure out strategies to keep our attention, to keep our eyes on their platform. And the final reason is that we are very, very good at misleading ourselves to become productive. So for example, and this happens to me all the time, where I would go home and instead of shooting a YouTube video or writing or reading, I would do something productive, but it's not the thing that I'm required to do or I told myself that I was going to do. So I will get home and, for example, prepare my bag for the next day. I work as a creative director, so I'm required to carry cameras and mics and all of these things. And while I can do this the night before, I can also do it the morning before I leave work because it only requires me like 5-10 minutes. Or I would get home and start helping with the cleaning and the dishes and all the other things that are, yes, important, but they can be pushed until the final hour of the night, and instead of doing it right after I get home. So knowing all of this, how do we build a strategy, or how do we make better use of our evening time? And for me, what has worked is that first, you need to start with a very, very clear goal. This means going home with a singular to-do list, one thing that you want to get done that very night, that if you do it, then it will make everything else that you have to do irrelevant. And instead of going home with 3, 4, 5 things on your to-do list and end up going home feeling overwhelmed and not getting anything done. Tim Ferriss, the author of the 4-Hour Workweek, always asks himself when he writes down a to-do list is, what is that one thing that, if done, will make everything else irrelevant? And if you ask yourself that question and you just force yourself to do that one thing, then it will make everything else that's not important, not urgent, sort of pushed back to the back burner or the next day. So, going back home is not gonna be like, oh, do the dishes. It's gonna be something way more important than that. It's gonna be maybe work on my novel or read the book that I've been procrastinating, or something that requires a deep session of 30 minutes or 1 hour of just, focused, do the thing. And this also requires stamina, so you can start with small goals. So for example, for me is in the evenings, I like to work on either my YouTube videos or on writing the novel that I'm working on, or reading. Now, all of these things interchange based on which one has the priority. With reading, I read less at home and spend most of my reading just reading on the train on my way to work or on my way back. With writing, I try to find the time during my work hours, which is like maybe during my lunchtime. I'll take 30 minutes, and if I can't get it done then I will put a half an hour towards the end of the day. Before I started this whole worry and this whole problem solving about my evening time, I would tell myself I will write for an hour in the evening or for an hour and a half, because that's what I was used to or told by many craft books what you need to spend your time doing or writing. But in reality, with the circumstances that I'm in, being a father, having a full-time job, and running a YouTube channel, I really don't have a full 90 minutes in my schedule every day to just write. So instead, I just tell myself I'm gonna write for 30 minutes, and 30 focus minutes I have in the evening, as opposed to 60 or 90 minutes. So before I get home, I will already schedule it on my calendar that from 6:30 to 7, I will write. I will tell my wife that. I will go inside my office, close the room, and just time myself 30 minutes, write, and come out. I will not be on my phone. I will not be on another tab in my browser doing or watching YouTube videos. I will just be writing or do nothing. And over time, what I've noticed is that I can take it from 30 minutes to 1 hour. Beyond that, it gets tricky because I do have other home responsibilities and I want to spend time with my family. I want to be a present father in my child's life. I don't want to spend my life just, making videos and writing and forgetting that I'm also part of a family. But in reality, stamina is based on doing that one thing for a limited amount of time and then pushing yourself little by little until you get to the next phase or the next goal. So I started with 30 minutes, now I can do 1 hour. Next, make sure that you have time for winding down. I mean, it is not fair that you put your body through all this pressure and not think about your health, your mental health, and what you have to get done as well. You just had a full day of work. You just been in maybe very negative conversations or bad meetings, or things are not going as well as you want them to be. Then expect yourself to perform every single day the same exact way. It's not gonna happen. So when you get to work, maybe it's not a good idea to get to another day of work, but wind down. Take the time to spend time with your loved ones. Take the time to, even if you would scroll or watch your favorite show or eat dinner, do the thing that will give you back some energy for you to get into the task of the day. Before I became a father, I used to do this with my wife a lot. I would get home from work and then we would just take an hour or a 30-minute walk. And for me, that was, although you're spending energy walking, but the conversations that we would have, the jokes that we would exchange, or the things that we would talk about will give me back some energy that I can spend later that evening. Now, it's literally just getting home and wrestling my daughter, laughing, talking about how her day went at school. She just joined right now 3K, which is in New York City, what's before pre-K, and it's been wonderful for her because she is a people's person. She loves being around kids. She loves playing in public and just being around many people. When she's alone, especially at home, she gives us the hardest time. But when she's with her cousins and everybody's running wild is when she's having the most amount of fun. So I love to just get home, talk to her about her day, ask her what her teacher, what activities she did with her teacher, or just read a book, do some building blocks type of activities, anything really that she would have fun and I would get to spend time with her, which also feel rewarding and just fulfilling. Now I can't lie, I'm not always very good at this because I would get home and she's very needy because she's a 3-year-old and she's a kid and I'm a human. I just finished a full day of work and not always the best at it, but then it is a thing that for me I'm very conscious about. The next thing that you can do, which for me I like to sandwich it. So basically I would get home, wind down, do the task, then I would relax again. So the task is sandwiched between 2 relaxing times. And in the late in the evening, I would either read a fiction book. I would never read a non-fiction book later at night because it turns on the problem solving mechanisms in my brain. It makes me think too strategically, too about the future, too about history or anything else that I'm currently reading, and it's too much activity. But fiction for me, it winds down all of those mechanisms. Or what I like to do is watch a show with my wife, which is something that we just started doing because it's something that we can do together. And other times, to be quite honest, it's just simply scrolling on my phone, whether it's on YouTube, on Instagram. Lately I've been trying to stay away from social media but more on YouTube, and it's been sometimes it works. Some days I need those just doom scrolling sessions. The third thing that you can do is think about your day as a whole. What do you do at the beginning of the day, the middle, and end. And for those, just divide the tasks based on the energy you have. Obviously, in the very early morning, just pack the task or tasks that spends or that needs the most amount of energy. So for example, for me is working on the big projects, whether it's editing videos at my work or shooting an event or writing scripts for my executive director, whatever the case might be. The biggest project that I'm working on is the first thing that I do in the morning after I have my breakfast. Now, in the early afternoon, right after lunch hour, is when I try to push all my scheduled meetings. Now, obviously, I don't work for myself, or I run a company, so I have to abide by whatever people's schedules are. So sometimes I take a morning meeting, but I try to, for as much as possible, to push all of my meetings to the afternoon. Because in the afternoon, after lunch, I have less energy. There's that dip that happens. I'm sleepy, and if I'm in a meeting and with people, it's less likely that I'm gonna fall asleep or have no energy to have the conversation. But it is more likely, if I keep back or push back the editing session until that time, that I will move slower, I will have less ideas, and I will be less productive. Now, later at night, I have obviously less energy, so the tasks there, even if they need deep thinking or a deep working session, I make sure that I do it for less time. So I don't push myself. While in the morning I can script for 90 minutes or I can edit for 2 hours straight. In the evening, if I'm working on a YouTube video, then I give myself 30 minutes or an hour. Or if I'm writing or reading, then it's for a short amount of time, very deep session. One of the things that I try to avoid now, and I feel they drain my energy the most during my work hours, is spending time having meaningless conversations with my colleagues. Just the being involved in office politics, drowning myself in tasks that I'm not supposed to be doing, but someone asked me and I couldn't say no. And the better I am at focusing each day at doing the thing that I'm supposed to do and dividing the day into 3, the better I am to use the third or the last third of my day better. So one of the ways that I solved for just getting involved in conversations that I don't want to is I bought these very big editing headphones. I think they were like $100. They're Sony headphones and they are noise cancelling. And when I edit or when I'm working on my computer, even though I'm not listening to anything, if I'm scripting, for example, then I would literally just put them on. They're big enough that people will see that I'm listening to something, so they don't address me or talk to me. Second is that if they're having side conversations behind me or to my side, I literally do not hear anything. Another thing that I've been really good at, if someone stopped me to have a random conversation that has nothing to do with what I'm supposed to be doing, I will lie and tell them I have a meeting that I have to join online or something. And it's bad, but at the end of the day, it saves me time and energy for me to work on the things that I'm supposed to be doing. The last and final tip is finding an accountability partner. And I know most of us can always brag about how we can get done things by ourselves and how productive we can become, but then we need people. The more involved other people are in our life and goals, the better we are at getting those goals done. And this is not only proven research, but it's also something that when you are doing something in community, even if it's with one person, it feels easier to do. So for example, I will tell my wife, because that's the person that I spend most of my evening time with. I will tell her, today my goal is to spend 30 minutes doing scripting a YouTube video that I'm gonna be recording on the weekend, and she helps me do it. She helps me find that pocket, that 30-minute pocket, as opposed to I get home and enter my room and close it, and she complains about how I don't spend enough time with the family. So if you have a partner, involve them in your goals, because it will make your life easier. If you don't, then find a friend who also goal-oriented, who also make better use of their evening time, and they tell you what task they want to get done for the day, and you tell them what task you will get done for the day. And maybe you can text each other when the task is done, so it feels more rewarding, so that your brain can be wired to do the thing over and over the next day and the following. And remember, always forgive yourself when you don't stick to your plan, or when something happens off the cuff, or because life just happens and sometimes we can't get done what we're supposed to get done. It's okay. We are not machines. We're human beings and we have life, and life sometimes doesn't treat us based on our expectations. Our to-do list and calendars and all of these productivity tips should not be something that we imprison ourselves with, but they should be a guide or sort of a borders that will allow us us to stay in the path that will lead us from point A to point B. But if we feel imprisoned by them, then we will end up alone and everyone will hate us, and that's not a good life to lead. The goal is always to be a better version of ourselves every single day, and we will fall short, we forgive ourselves and try to do better the next day. That's it. I would love to know that one thing that you will change, or the thing that you've been doing that changed the way you spend your evening time to be more productive. Leave it in the comments, and if you watched this far, then you probably enjoyed the video and you will enjoy the video of the habit that changed my life. In the meantime, keep writing, keep reading, stay productive, and until next time.